Chapter 41, Key Cultivation at the Cup Realm. After sharing the information about the sect's grand ceremony and cultivation practices, Shen's sister excused herself on account of something urgent and left Pure Yang Peak. Han Yi stared at the vast scenery before him, casually picked a position, and began to cultivate. The Dragon Sparrow Key Cultivation technique was not difficult. It was an enlightenment book for key practitioners, so the entry barrier couldn't be set too high. The fundamental of key cultivation lies in settling the heart and strengthening the root, adjusting the danshin. The human body is like a ding, and if the state of mind is clear, true key will be purer. The essence of the sun and the moon gathers in the yellow court, the light of the sun and the moon shines on me. At the foot of a verdant mountain, Han Yi was sitting cross-legged, reciting and replicating the lines from memory. Now, Han Yi was bolstered by being slightly versed in literature and ink. His comprehension ability was not poor, and whatever he heard, he could remember and not forget. This key cultivating stanza was much advanced than the breathing and key exchanging technique he used previously at the Liu Manor. Dao Heart like a rock allowed Han Yi to isolate external things and meditate in peace, allowing him to enter a selfless state, observing everything from a bird's eye view and reflecting on himself. This was the first stage of the Dragon Sparrow Key Cultivation technique, viewing a mountain as just a mountain. People with pure thoughts, who are free from distraction, are more likely to reach the first stage. If one's mind was impure, it would require powerful willpower and concentration to compensate. Han Yi was of this type. He heard from Shen's sister that if the disciples of Pure Yang Peak couldn't break through to the Key Sea realm within 10 years, they would be sent to Yangshen Peak. Those disciples who had previously extorted him were old hands at Pure Yang Peak. They had entered the sect when the assessment was fairly loose in the previous years. They had been lax in their cultivation and had not made significant breakthroughs. This year, the number of people participating in the assessment was several times that of the last decade, so the hurdles set were more difficult and arduous. The disciples who got in had better potential. A main peak's resources were limited and it couldn't accommodate to many people, so these dull-witted fellows had to be driven away. Han Yi had asked at that time, couldn't one stay in the Dragon Sparrow sect till death? However, Shen's sister told him that was not the case. After entering, disciples with qualifications could report to their sect, determining their future development direction, whether to mainly focus on body cultivation, sword cultivation, tool cultivation, medicine cultivation, talisman cultivation, concealment mastery, or becoming an alchemy master, similar to choosing a career path. And every year, an internal assessment would be held in the sect, which can provisionally be called the minor sect competition. Han Yi saw it as a final exam. The disciples of each sect would participate to see how much they had improved. The results were graded A, B, C, and D. If one ranked D for 10 consecutive years, they would be given a consolation sum and then expelled from the sect. After all, new people joined every 3 years. However, Shen's sister also said that there were not many such people. Anyone who could enter the sect must have something commendable about them. All in all, the matter of cultivation was fairly urgent. Han Yi used the state of selflessness to visualize the heavens and the earth, feeling the spiritual key around him, forgetting everything around him. Gradually, the heavenly earthly spiritual key slowly gathered towards his danshin. At some unknown point, he entered the second stage of the Dragon Sparrow Key Cultivation technique, viewing a mountain as not a mountain. Using his own vitality to deconstruct all living things, producing numerous illusions, his heart enlightened to everything. In Han Yi's illusion, a world as black as ink manifested. 9 black dragons appeared, towering and descending, continuously roaring and causing destruction to the world. Even the surrounding spiritual key began to go chaotic. "Young master, you look shocked." A soft and charming voice rang in his ear. Han Yi suddenly opened his eyes, his gaze as sharp as electricity, and patted his chest with lingering fear. He saw a demon fox sitting in front of him, watching him with its green eyes. If it wasn't for Tushan Kingless' reminder, he would probably have been contaminated by the Black Dragon's demon key, losing himself. Dao Heart like a rock was quite useful, but after all, it was only 1/5 of the way complete. If he wanted to truly ward off heart demons, he had to gather some more attribute abilities. However, he was somewhat puzzled not to have seen the little demon fox for a very long time. "King Li, why haven't you come out before?" The white fox transformed into a young girl in a green gauze dress sullenly said as she sat on a rock. Propping up her head, "Don't mention it, young master, you are not aware of it. The two old men you met a few days back and the middle-aged man you met this morning are too strong in cultivation. I didn't dare to release a hint of my presence, dare not to say a word." Hearing that, Han Yi knew she was talking about the founder Yongshu, Elder Zhang, and Elder Gai. He couldn't help but ask curiously, what is their cultivation level? "You, who have been cultivating for 300 years, are not their match." Tushin Kingli was disdainful. "What's the big deal about 300 years? In our demon race, unless you've cultivated for 800 years, you're too ashamed to call yourself a big demon. Those three old men must have cultivated for at least 500 years, and they are definitely above deity transformation." "Above deity transformation? That's amazing." Han Yi sighed quietly. Tushin Kingli seemed to think of something and reminded, "Young master, when you cultivate in the future, remember not to be overly engrossed. Keep some consciousness outside, or else the demon key will naturally arise." "What exactly are demon key and heart demon?" Tushin Kingli pondered a while. "Well, demon key is the impurity in heavenly earthly spiritual key. When accumulated over a long time, it forms a substantial mass. As for heart demon, it is the most dreadful evil deep in a cultivator's body. Demon key can lure this evil out, then amplify it. If one is not careful, they will lose themselves. Their personality will greatly change, being occupied by the heart demon. They will become unrecognizable, and they would ultimately become demon cultivators." "Understood?" Han Yi nodded, realizing he could only refine Qi now. If he wants to continue advancing to the third level of the Dragon Sparrow Qi cultivation technique, he has to gather more Dao Heart like a rock properties. "Young master, you carry on with your cultivation. I'm a little tired after these days of escorting you through the challenges. Ill sleep for a few days within you. You better be careful." Soon enough, Tushin Kingli yawned cutely, said so, then turned into a wisp of green smoke and slipped into his sleeve. Han Yi repositioned himself cross-legged, closed his eyes, adjusted his state, and silently recited the true Brahman calming mantra. This was the calming mantra that Chu Shanyu had passed on to him. It surprisingly worked incredibly well. His inner heart, which had been previously affected by illusions, gradually settled down, and his state of mind became peaceful again. This time, he did not pursue the cultivation of the Dragon Sparrow Key cultivation technique, but instead went to sense the spiritual key around him. Half a day passed, and his danchan contained more strands of ethereal, silky key. This key intertwined faintly into a ball, rotating slightly, circulating, and starting to circulate through the universe. Han Yi mobilized the spiritual key in his danchan. At first, the sluggish, slow true key was instantly ignited by the flames, swiftly circulating. He could faintly hear the rumbling sound coming from his own dantian. The heavenly earthly spiritual root was converted into true key. Through the spiritual root, entering the dantian, splitting it more and more. The overall erupt has flipped several times, finally forming the size of a bowl of water. Phew! Hanya opened his eyes, let out a long breath, detached from the wonderful state. There was a flash of brightness in his eyes. This should be the cup of water in cultivation of Qi that his senior sister mentioned, which is the cup realm. He had actually been successful with his Qi cultivation in a single day. The current Han Yi could hear the slight noise of falling leaves between the mountain peaks, vibrating vigorously, not sleeping or eating for 3 days and 3 nights, he could still maintain his spirits. The transformation brought by the breakthrough in the Qi cultivation realm was comprehensive. The true Qi in his danchan was even more solid and refined than before, calm as still water, full of vitality. He had a familiar sense of the true Qi in his body. Let's test the effect. After Han Yi's breakthrough, he was very excited. He restrained himself and wanted to see how strong he was now. He was facing the hard gray-white rock at the foot of the mountain, making a fist and circulating his true Qi. The Qi flow surged from his meridians, muscles, and pores. Whoosh! A punch in mid-air, which didn't seem to use much power, but it made a sound of explosion and splitting the air. The key burst forth. Boom! The gray-white rock 10 steps away shattered loudly. It was hard to imagine the strength of this punch, even if it just brushed past the enemy. The strong wind it created could tear the opponent's skin. Breaking the rock in the air, the fist wind tears the body. Han Yi thought to himself, this is key cultivation. The quality of true key greatly improved. The mastery of power became more meticulous and subtler. It saved energy, and the true key could be exuded from the pores. Just pressing the palm, the strength comes in and out, which can harm people invisibly. He looked at his palm and couldn't help but admire. Normal people have to get through to key cultivation in 3 to 5 years. But he only spent half a year. Although he couldn't compare with the genius Chu Shanyu, it wasn't bad either. He was considered slightly above average. I don't know if I can compete with the practitioners of the Key Pool, River, and Sea realms with my dragon tiger physique and a solid foundation. Han Yi feasted on the solid power between his fingers and pondered. In order to break through the foundation establishment, one must reach the Key Sea realm. Such outer sect disciples must be very common in the Dragon Sparrow sect. After all, once they break through to the foundation establishment realm, they can become inner sect disciples. So, cultivation is endless, and one must be eager to learn. Suddenly, he saw a black dot appearing in the sky above the Pure Yang Peak. Heading towards the Great Hall, the figure gradually became clear. Senior sister? Hania looked surprised. Sister Shen, in a green dress, flying through the air, brought a burly man to the Pure Yang Peak. The man covered his eyes, daring not to look down. She's already back. Sister Shen saw Han Yi and paused in mid-air, laughing and saying, "It's only been almost a day, and you've already cultivated Qi. Not bad, kid. You're fast. It's okay." Being praised like this, Han Yi smiled brilliantly, but he quickly noticed the familiar face of the man behind Sister Shen. "Dan Niu, you are also at Pure Yang Peak now." Now he had figured it out. So the busy work that Sister Shen mentioned was to receive new disciples. Wang Daniu covered his eyes, dared not look at the ground until he heard someone calling him. He opened his fingers slightly, saw Han Yi, and say joyfully, "Hey! Brother Han, you are here too. We are assigned together. Ha ha ha. What, aren't you afraid of heights anymore?" Sister Shen joked as she watched Dan Nia's cheerful look. "So, you guys already know each other. That makes things easier. Wang Daniu has already been chosen by the sect master and is now a disciple of Pure Yang Peak. Can you take care of him and help me ease some of the pressure? I still have some disciples to pick up." Sister Shen handed Han Yi Dan Nia's identity jade plate and storage ring. Han Yi took them and nodded. "Sister, you go ahead. I'll take care of Dan Niu." He turned his head and saw Wang Daniu, who was relieved after landing, and asked curiously, "Dan Niu, why did Sister Shen bring you here?" "I remember there are immortal cranes to ride, Wang Daniu laughed embarrassingly, scratching his head, and hesitated to speak. "Pfft." Sister Shen chuckled at Han Yi. "He didn't dare to ride the immortal crane, insisted that he was afraid of heights, so I had to go to pick him up."